There is a way for you as the nurse to be culturally competent. More appropriate and accurate in diagnosis, you have better compliance with treatment recommendations, and you reduce the delay in care seeking and use of services. Enhanced client and provider communication, and there's a greater compatibility of biomedical and traditional healthcare systems. So let's see what you know. Cultural knowledge is that the familiarity of worldview, beliefs, practices, and problem solving. Strategies of the group are that are ethnically and culturally different. Cultural humility. Can you guess which one this is? This is when we seek cultural knowledge and gain understanding of the community, use a preventative approach, and assist self-care toward a client-specific culture. Culture sensitivity. This is a focus on awareness, encompassing the knowledge, awareness, and acceptance of other cultures. Cultural competence. This is the focus on behavior, ability to interact effectively with people of different cultures and socioeconomic backgrounds. And then finally, cultural imposition is the expectations that the other will conform to the dictates of one's own culture. Madeline Leininger. Hopefully most of you have heard of Dr. Madeline Leininger. She is a renowned nursing theorist and also has background in anthropology. She coined the phrases of emic and etic. She addresses the similarities, the universalities, and the differences or the diversities among cultures. There's incorporates the three modes of nursing activities: preservation and maintenance, accommodation and negotiation, and restructuring and repattering. Madeline Leininger defines culture as the learned and shared beliefs, values, and life ways of a group that are generally transmitted from one generation to the next and influence people's thoughts and actions. Preservations or maintenance. This is the identifying of cultural care practices that are helpful to the client. Here, the nurse assists, supports, and facilitates or enables the client. Accommodation or negotiation. This is the practices and culture that are meaningful but need to be altered. For instance, Muslim praying or Jewish person with no pork insulin. And then repattering or restructuring. The client and the family community finds practices that are detrimental to health and well-being. Here, the nurse will work with the client to better change the behavior. Could this be something in considering with coining or cupping or even applying braces? Acculturation and assimilation are things that you too need to be aware of. Acculturation is when you learn ways to a new culture, but yet you keep the traditions. This would be driving, going to school, negotiating public transportation, or getting a job. This is when the activities become more comfortable and the person becomes more acculturated. Assimilation is when the person identifies more strongly with the dominant culture. They have values and activities of daily living. Here is where you see that the parents do not assimilate, but the children do. You will want to know the difference between acculturation and assimilation for the exam. To start out with your own competency, do you understand your own background, influences, or biases? We start with cultural blindness. With this, there's no recognition of your own beliefs and practices, nor those of others. If this continues, you move to ethnocentrism. This is the idea that one's own ways are the only ways, or the best ways to behave, believe, or do. This can also then lead to stereotyping. When you stereotype, you generalize and oversimplify information about others. That's not supported by evidence and is continued prejudice. This leads to racism. Racism is the belief that individuals who are culturally or ethnically or racially different from oneself, which then leads to discrimination. Discrimination is being treated differently than others based upon some perceived trait or characteristic or membership in a particular group. At this point, if you've not, watch the movie Silent Beats by director John Chu, and then complete the questions. Community-based nurse has a responsibility to learn as much as possible about culture groups that they will provide care for. This is a great website to go to interact, to see about different cultures and learn about how they interact with others. When we focus on the model competency, we follow the acronym AST. A stands for awareness. Am I aware of my personal biases and prejudices towards cultures different than mine? S. Skill. Do I have the skill to conduct a cultural assessment and perform a cultural-based physical assessment in a sensitive manner? Do I have knowledge of the patient's world view in the field of biocultural ecology? Encounters. How many face-to-face encounters have I had with patients from diverse cultural backgrounds? What is my genuine desire to be culturally competent? Now to think of this. Is nursing a culture? Do we have shared patterns of communication? Are there similarities and preferences in food preparations? Common pattern of clothing? Is there predictable socialization patterns? And do we have a shared sense of belief?